asset-based community development is something that allows every person to use their good skills and talents, and that's all of you. We're going to have some volunteers coming around to you here real shortly. They're coming down to get some baskets, and they're going to hand you a couple of things. You're going to get a candy bar and a sticky note, and they're also going to have another little call to action card. So I'm going to have them go ahead. We're going to speed this up a little bit to kind of help catch up some time. So we've cut some things and moving some things around for you, but you'll still get the gist of it. Earlier today, I told you we were going to talk about asset-based community development, and we had that planned before we saw any of these speakers, but each one of these speakers has had some component of asset-based community development involved in what they're saying. So they're coming around. I'm going to have you, I don't want this to get too chaotic here, but in a little bit here, I'm going to ask you to stand just as soon as I get that out to you. And we're going to do a little exercise that I was a part of when I was trained about asset-based community development. And you'll see how you experience the assets in your community every day without thinking about it. And this will help you kind of understand, it helped me understand anyway, what those assets actually are. Make sure, don't say, no, I don't need a candy bar, because that candy bar might just have a golden ticket. So I would even take a candy bar. Make sure you get one of those. I think they're almost there. You don't want to miss out on this one. All right, how are we doing? Does everybody have their... Ooh, these lights are bright when they're aimed at the screen there. Okay. I think we're pretty close here. Your short some? You need some over there? Okay, she's got them. They're coming at you.
Good.
Has everybody got one now? Okay, so I'm going to have you stand up now. I think we've got enough, we're close enough. I'm going to have you stand up. I'm going to ask you a question. And your answer will be to sit down when you can answer this question. Don't worry, it's not hard. You can do this. Sit down if you have visited the Marshmallow Festival in Ligonier or the Apple Festival in Kendallville. That ought to take a bunch of you. Sit down if you visited a Noble County farmers market, anywhere in Noble County, farmers market, or if you're not from Noble County, if you visited a farmers market in your community. See how fast this is? If you have, sit down, do you have anybody standing? Okay. Sit down if you've enjoyed a Noble Trail or a rail to trail kind of thing, or Hidden Diamonds in Albion, an outdoor park anywhere in your community. I promise everybody's going to be sitting when we're done. I promise you. Sit down if you visited a library. Are we all down? Now I'm going to have you put your hand up. Put your hand up if you have in the last 30 days visited a library, and I mean you went inside the library. Awesome. All right. And the last one, there's another one here. Put your hand up if you belong to, you can put your hand down, if you belong to Lions Club, Elks, Rotary, a small group in your church. Look around and get all the hands up. And if you are an individual sitting here today, put your hand up. Well done. You have just experienced the assets in your community. Do you think about that? Are you intentional about thinking about that? So I want you to start paying attention to those things around you. The assets we know and love are there all the time, but asset-based community development brings an intentionality about making sure we see them in our community, and not only see them, but take part in them. Let's go ahead. This map that you're seeing right here, Henry David Thoreau said, it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. We tend to see our communities through that broken window. And when we look at our communities through that shattered glass, we tend to see things that are shattered and broken. We see our communities in that way. But what happens when we take that view is that we end up seeing what's wrong in our community instead of what's strong. We see a series of problems to be solved. We take on the mindset that we are somehow deficient. And when we see ourselves as deficient, we begin to look outward for solutions to cure what ails us. When we look outward, we're also looking over the people right in our own community, and we begin to put decision-making into the hands of people outside of our community that are making decisions for us, often never talking to the people right in our own community that are being impacted by whatever it is we just asked them or whatever they're trying to help us with. Also, that begins to impact the funding that comes in. The funding coming into a community becomes narrowly defined by whatever problem we're trying to solve. We end up rewarding failure, creating dependency on programs, and the community takes on a poor self-image, and we all begin to feel hopeless. But what if we change the lens? Asset-based community development changes the lens so that we begin to see our community through a kaleidoscope of assets instead of always looking at those things that are deficits. That asset map is the map of the very same community that needs map was. Only this time, it was mapped based on the assets in that community. So here's your crash course in ABCD. ABCD is not new. It was clear back in 1969. Jody Kretzmann and John McKnight took a 4-year-long journey to ask one single question. Can you tell us what people who live in this block or in this neighborhood have done together that make things feel better? In all of those hundreds of conversations, the answers came back to these 6 key assets. These were the things that people commented on. So these are the 6 assets. And those things that we just did, we started at the bottom, but things like the festivals and places where we may exchange things. It doesn't have to be the grocery store, it can be that farmer's market, wherever we're buying, selling, trading, physical spaces, institutions, like our nonprofits, our for-profits and governments, and then associations of small groups and of course individuals. So it's a lot to take on, and that's just really a thumbnail, if it's even that, maybe a pinky nail. But it boils down to this. All 6 of these key assets present in a community and working together are what makes a community thrive. So we're going to take a look at a quick video here to show you some local people from right here, that are putting their gifts, skills, talents, and abilities into play to make their community better. Let's take a look at this video.
The Albion Lions is a group of compassionate people that most of them, I think, feel that they have received a good benefit from the world and desire to give some of that back through not only donations but through the service that they provide themselves. Ramps are one of the most physical things that we do. We are an older club. A lot of our members most of us are retired, but ramps are something that often come up as an urgent need. Somebody went to the hospital and they're ready to go home and now are in need of a ramp to get back in their house and cannot come home until that's completed. Some Lions Club member hears about something and then initiates the Lions Club to get people into action to do that function.
I am Pastor Austin Gillen here at New Life Apostolic Church, and today we have Serve Day, and we're partnering with some really incredible ministries that are already really fulfilling the purpose of the church. And so what we want to do is come alongside them and to help these ministries that are so stretched thin and not able to get everything done that they would love to get done. And so we're going to send teams of people out to those different ministries. We have Noble House, we have Inspiration Ministries, Common Grace Ministries, Life and Family Services, that we're going there and we want to help them with some projects. And the purpose behind all of this was really that Jesus has called us to meet the needs of people where they are at and to be the hands and feet to Jesus Christ. And so that's what we want to do is to go and really to serve those people just as we're serving Christ and to help them. And so it's our hope today that we can make a difference here in our community. We know that these incredible ministries are already making a huge impact, and we're just trying to come alongside them and help them a little bit further in what they're already doing.
So the mowing program, it's a good way for our kids to learn how to gain work ethic, and it's a great way to help in the community, and it's helped me with my work ethic and growing as myself and going with relationships with other people. And it's just a great way to get in your community and talk to people, learn who's out there, and it's just fun time all together. We have a better community, it makes people happier, and that's what makes a better town. I just feel really good. Like, I feel like I accomplished something because not only did I work hard, but I also made somebody else happy that can't mow. So it makes me happy knowing that I helped somebody out.
Okay, Lori is going to come out and she's going to talk to you a little bit about how people in Noble County are coming together in Thrive, and she'll tell you about those Thrive pillars.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Lori Gagen, and I am one of the leadership team members for Noble New Way, but I'm also on the steering committee for Thrive Noble County. And I'm just curious to start this, how many of you, by raise of hand, have heard about Thrive Noble County? Hey, we're making progress. If you didn't know it, last year's Noble Palooza was a Thrive event that is going to be coming back in 2023 on March 11th, so be sure to mark your calendars for that. But the reason I'm here today is to sort of take the whole idea of asset-based community development and organize it even further by introducing and reinforcing the idea of the 5 pillars of a thriving rural community. So when people talk about Thrive Noble County, sometimes we're spoken of as an organization, but in reality, we're really just a framework for rural community development. And this framework came together in Noble County about 13 years ago. And it is our community's take on the hometown competitiveness approach to rural community development that actually originated in Nebraska. And like so many things that we all have gained in this county, this sort of is a product of the DECO Foundation, and Tom Leedy led this effort some 13 years ago. And fortunately, a lot of the leaders in the county have adopted this philosophy, and we're hoping to take it even further over these next couple of years and into the future. So what makes up the Thrive framework? We talk about 5 pillars that serve as the foundation, and you've heard the word intentionality. I'm going to share a really quick personal story about intentionality. When I was working at Black Pine Animal Sanctuary, we operated almost entirely with volunteers. And in training those volunteers how to be safe and work around potentially dangerous animals, I used to tell the story to raise the idea of being intentional in your actions. I'm curious if any of you can relate to this. How many people here drive? How many of you have been driving for more than a couple of years? How many of you have ever gone the same route day after day after day and had that moment of, oh my God, did I actually stop at that red light? That was always the analogy I used to try to teach people to be intentional. To say, stop a minute, think about it, and then act. For me, Thrive needs us to be intentional, to recognize these 5 pillars. I'm going to give you a brief description of what we mean by each of these. The first one, entrepreneurial growth, is important for us because we want to maintain local control of employment decisions. We also want to grow prosperity for future generations. And all of that comes into play when we're intentional about eating here, shopping here, playing here, and supporting each other. When we have local control of employment decisions, everybody's vote rises. There's some data from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation that was shared at our annual meeting at Noble last week that said for every new business that opens among 100 households, the median income for all 100 households has been shown to go up from that one business and the impact that it has. The next pillar we have is community investment. I think it's fair to say most of this entire local leadership summit talks tremendously about community investment. It's important in our community because we want to secure local funding to sustain the local assets that Angie's been talking about, the things that we want to develop and focus on. Almost all of them require some sort of community investment. We want to ensure broad and diverse participation, and we want to recognize that it's not just money, but also time, abilities, and gifts and skills that we're giving. So all three of our ABCD video subjects that we just saw illustrate community investment. Our third pillar is youth engagement. We know that our youth move away from a community because they perceive a lack of opportunity, or very simply, nobody's been intentional about asking them to stick around, tell them we want them to stay. So there's an opportunity there to engage youth, much like the crew, Logan's crew does. We just heard Carson talk about his experience. When we give youth those opportunities, they are building connections to this community that matter, and they're very likely to have an impact when they have a decision to make about staying here or coming back. Our fourth pillar is leadership development, and that's important for a thriving rural community because we know what's behind the success of every thriving community are great leaders. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I think we have some really great leaders in Noble County. We've heard a lot over the last couple of years, my exposure in the leadership community, that nobody collaborates like this community, this county. On that leadership note, I don't know if anybody else has taken a minute, but I just want to recognize Angie for her leadership. Jen and I just commented to her a little while ago. She said, I didn't know about doing this, and we said you were made to do this. So leadership development, we have to be intentional about providing leadership development at every stage of life and for every circumstance in life. And I see a lot of really great efforts in that vein. I hope you'll continue to follow the work of Thrive in that area. Our last pillar is cultural enhancement. This is a pillar that, as I understand it, was added specifically for our community when we talked about our own development. And that's because we so much value our outdoor recreational assets and the other cultural opportunities we have. It's part of our fiber here in Noble County in particular. So much like when youth are engaged, opportunities to build attachments to the community through these other assets and cultural enhancement, attending local events, arts and entertainment makes them sustainable and helps us to continue to grow those opportunities. So the point of all of this is to say that as we strive to stop looking through that broken lens about what's not right here, what's problematic here, when we start focusing and building on what's good, all of the assets we have, let's also be intentional about making sure we're building assets under each one of these 5 pillars. And that takes us even further down the road. So, thank you all for being here and listening to our pitch, our local pitch today. I'm going to give it back to Angie. She's going to find that golden ticket winner, I think.
I said, look, I clicked it. I usually make it go backwards or something. So ABCD is all about building relationships and making connections. So I love that Vanessa Van Edwards talked yesterday about all the questions she told us to ask, getting below the surface. ABCD is very much about digging down below the surface to what really matters to people, what they're passionate about, what they know about. We talk about head, heart, and hands, what they know about, what they're passionate about, and what they know how to teach someone else to do, how they can give. You all have talents, abilities, gifts, and skills. It's easier to say tags. Who's got the clicker now?
Oh, I do. Sorry. There's more to click. I thought.
Tag.
No, we're not done yet.
Tag, you're it. So So now we get to the part of asset mapping in this room. You all have a sticky note. I want you to write down one thing on your sticky note that is a talent, ability, gift, or skill. All you have to do is just one. And as you head out today, when you go out that way toward the food trucks, and all 4 of them are here, by the way. When you go out that way, then you can see the pillars on the wall. And as you go by, I want you to stick your sticky note on the pillar where you could put your asset to work. So we're going to have you do that. And then during lunch, this is what we want you to do. You've got that little paper that says call to action. We want you to find a person you do not already know. This is about connecting the dots that are not already connected. ABCD is very much about connecting things that are not already connected. So find someone you don't know, find out, use those questions, one of their talents, abilities, gifts, and skills, and then talk about how you can put those together. You will each be finding that out about one another. We don't need to get in your heads and know about those conversations necessarily unless something happens like just happened this morning. When we talked about mentoring, and I said, is there anything like that going on? And already Tom and Julia were on it and coming up with a way that there are veteran and in what's the word I'm looking for? I lost my word. Emerging, thank you. I wanted to say engaging. That too. Veteran and emerging leaders can connect. And I need to find my note here. Julia would like her, we'll put her email up for you. She would like you to email her if you are interested in getting involved in that new movement to connect those leaders.